As mentioned, my name is Martinez, already having quite an impact. Staying away from the topic of transparency because fear of Ramsey. 12 years in Cyfair with my wife and 2 kids. We also have a business here in Cyprus, and kids are involved in a multitude of activities. Almost 25 years in the business I'm in of distribution, 20 of those in various management, leadership, and executive positions. So extensive business background. So why run? I've been asked that question a bunch lately. Some of you have young kids, and the struggle of balancing family life and work is a challenge in its own right. So there's a couple of reasons. First is visibility. I think when I first got engaged in this a few months ago, I didn't know much about the ESD. Probably lots of you in the room are the same way. And I can assure you through the campaign process, I get asked all the time, what is an ESD and what are the responsibilities of an ESD? So I think because of the impact that it has, ultimately, there's such a lack of awareness, and that's not a good thing for our community. So you talked about, and Scott mentioned it, you're talking about an area of over 400,000 people. In the last election, less than 500 people voted, and most of those were the fire department. So awareness in the fire and what the ESD is and getting people active in it, I think is a big deal for me. I sat here at the activity center a few months ago and listened to Kay talk about how important it is to be active in the community and serve, and so that's played a part in why I'm here today. Since to serve, on the heels of Harvey, this disastrous storm that lots of our family and friends were impacted by, we did a lot of volunteer work. My wife and I volunteered a lot. We everything from food collections and distribution to recovery and rescue to helping our neighbors with demolition and rebuild. And what came out of that was the need for the community to be prepared. These 100-year and 500-year storms are happening almost every year. And the ESD has a large responsibility, the whole strategic planning on evacuation, response time, emergency services. And so I saw firsthand how important that was to serve. And really, to just being involved in the community. Again, I mentioned, Kay, listen to her talk about not just being involved at times, but really being active in the community. And so, since the service is something else that really has come out of that. Leadership. I talk about 20 years in various leadership and management executive roles. A lot of my daily functions of running a business, budgeting, interacting with multiple disciplines of the company, price negotiations, logistics, those are all skill sets that translate really well to the responsibility of the ESD. And then help build some congruency between the ESD board and the Cyfair volunteer department. I tell you, the ESD meetings I've been to, it's very visible that there's a disconnect between the ESD and the Cyfair Volunteer Fire Department. We have one of the largest volunteer fire departments in the country, and they don't have a very big voice in being managed by the current ESD in that environment. And I don't know how you can be effective when 2 entities that are that important and interact with each other on a regular basis have that big a disconnect. And so, my ability to negotiate and navigate personalities, I think, could be a big benefit to the board. The last comment I would make is that, it's easy to say in a campaign where we all see politics on a regular basis, where you talk about lowering taxes or having certain things like that, hiring a full-time fire department. It's easy to say that, but without really knowing what the strategic plan is, having a lot of the transparency involved with what the budget is and where it's going, you can't realistically say that without sitting down, analyzing multiple data points, interacting with multiple community leaders, and really coming up with a long-term plan. So it's easy to sit up here and say, I'm going to lower the taxes or I'm going to do all these things, but I'm not on the board. A lot of that data is not available to us, and so I think it has to be a priority of putting that long-term plan in place by getting a lot of that data and input.
Say your name again.
Martin Martinez.
There you go.